Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's meeting of the Cabinet. During the live broadcast, members and officers are asked please to ensure that mobile phones are placed in silent mode and that microphones are switched off when not in use. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome three new members to the Cabinet, Councillors Christie, Count and Imafidon. And I'd also like to record my thanks to the outgoing Cabinet members, Councillors Benny, Miss Candlin and Murphy, for their service to this Council. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Member services.
Thank you. There are no apologies.
Thank you. Agenda item 2 are the previous minutes of Cabinet, and we're being asked to approve the public minutes, which are on pages 5 to 12 of your agenda pack, as being a correct record of the two meetings which took place on the 14th and the 24th of March 2025. May I ask any member who doesn't agree with the minutes to indicate this now, please? I see no one indicating, so I'm happy to approve these minutes as a correct record of the meeting. They are now agreed. Thank you. And agenda item 3, there are no urgent items for consideration today. Agenda item 4, declaration of interests. This is to receive any declarations of interest under the local code of conduct or any interest under the code of conduct on planning matters in respect of any items to be discussed at today's meeting. If you have anything to declare, please can you inform the meeting now? I see no declarations. If anything occurs to any member during the meeting that they may have a declaration of interest that they need to declare, would you please do so as quickly as possible? Thank you. Agenda item 5 is the Shared Prosperity Fund's transitional funding, and this can be found on pages 13 to 122 of the agenda pack, and asks Cabinet to consider and accept funding from the CPCA for a period of 1 year to fund SPF projects. Councillor Count, would you be kind enough to present this report?
Thank you, Chairman. So, as you rightly say, pages 13 to 122, and whilst that's an awful lot of bookwork in there, the vast majority is the actual technical agreements with the CPCA, the forms to be filled in, examples of all that. The nub of the matter is that you'll recall that Cabinet meeting in 30th of January 23, members previously approved acceptance of £1.3 million SPF from the CPCA. That was for the 3-year period ending March 2025. The funding was invested in 5 projects across Finland, all of which have delivered significant benefits. The largest project, investment in business, attracted private sector investment of 1.35 million, or nearly double the amount of grant funding provided. 74 new jobs were created, 11 new businesses were created, along with many other positive impacts. As a practical example, one of the grants had a significant impact on U-Wood bespoke designs, which are based in March. They were able to use the grant to invest in a new computer numerical controller router machine, which I don't really know what that is, to be fair. But that did enable a new partnership with a national electric vehicle charging point manufacturer, Anderson EV, and that enabled them to keep up with significantly increased orders. Another project was Project Luscombe, which I was previously involved with in a previous role in the Cabinet. This ensured there are additional boots on the ground from the police outside of the normal core neighbourhood policing hours to target hotspot areas of ASB and Wisbech. A full evaluation of all of the projects will be made available to members in August of this year. All areas of the UK are now receiving a new transitional allocation of shared prosperity funding for a 1-year period 25 to 26, and the funding available to Fenland District is £279,000. Two of those shared prosperity funding projects have been approved by the CPCA as a continuation of the investment in business grant scheme, and that has a budget of £220,000, and the firebreak and antisocial behaviour project with a budget of £59,000. As the District Council is accepting or attempting to accept the SPF funding from the CPCA, a decision is required by Cabinet to accept this funding. So for me, that's very simple indeed. I'm asking members to agree to this so that we can accept funding from the CPCA that we're then able to utilise. Thank you, Chair.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Count. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Mrs. Wrench. Thank you very much indeed. The item is now open for discussion if anyone has any comments to make. Councillor Tierney.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I think going forwards, it's too late now to do it in this instance, but I think going forwards, it'd be quite nice if we ever have grants like this that we're helping businesses with in future, if we could build into the conditions that they do just a little bit of publicity about what they did with the money, so that we can put the whole thing together as a package without having to use a lot of officer time to do it, and then kind of show people what their taxpayer funds are being used on, because in the end it is all taxpayer funds, despite the route it takes to get to them. And I think people would be quite pleased to see some of the positive ways that businesses are helped with this sort of money. That would be useful, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. It's unlikely that there will be any further shared prosperity funding after 25-26, although government can always change its mind. But so far as 25-26 is concerned, you may not be too late on that. So I suggest you ask officers and see if something along those lines may be able to be done. Can't give any guarantees, but it may be possible. Any other comments? Councillor Mrs. Lawns.
Thank you, Chair. Just to actually support what Councillor Tina has just said, so frequently we do hear of good messages and good reports back. And I think we're very poor as a council, and I still think we are, in promoting what has been done, either by councillors, supporting staff, most importantly, how taxpayers' money is spent. I too completely welcome any promotional work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Councillor Kant, do you want to say anything further?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Very valuable contributions. I think they're well worth pursuing with. Councillor Tierney in his media role as a Cabinet member can pursue this alongside me. We'll make sure it gets done. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, there are no further speakers. The recommendation is on page 13 and asks Cabinet to consider and accept the shared prosperity funding from Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority for the one-year period 2025-2026. All those in favour, please show. That is agreed unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Move on to agenda item 6, which is the Grounds Avenue development and lease to support housing duties. This is to be found on pages 123 to 174 of the agenda pack and is for Cabinet to consider a proposal to commission Cornerstone Place to develop land at Grounds Avenue March and enter relevant legal documentation to lease the land to a registered provider for 125 years with the Council, providing directly the required management and support to residents in the properties. Councillor Hoy, would you be kind enough to propose this report?
Thank you. This proposal is another example of the Council taking proactive action to reduce the number of homeless households who live in hotels and doing so reduce revenue costs on the Council's statutory responsibilities to address homelessness. This Council currently accommodates at any one time approximately 30 households in hotel accommodation that requires assistance under homelessness legislation. Such accommodation isn't housing benefit compliant, and this places significant additional pressure on our finances, but also is not a good option for the households we are helping. We have made it a financial priority of this Council to reduce the pressure by progressing alternative provision that is housing benefit subsidy compliant. This is another project that will do this. Working with Cornerstone Place, we can deliver significant revenue savings to support the Council's duties and responsibilities in relation to housing with no additional capital outlay. In summary, the project will deliver a 12-unit scheme on a council-owned site with an existing planning permission that achieves revenue savings to this authority of circa £188,000 per annum. FDC will retain nomination rights with the properties let through a partner registered provider and will also hold all repairs, void and administration responsibility, which will be recoverable through exempt rents as part of the benefit system. This model ensures that there is no need for a capital funding commitment from the Council. A project plan has been produced with the aim to have the properties in place by October 2026. Now, there is an at-risk cost to the Council of circa £92,000, which is the cost of the planning process. This is recovered if the permission is achieved. In terms of legal agreements, the Council will enter into a following agreement with the registered provider, which is a 125-year lease agreement and a management agreement to have 100% nomination rights for the Council and directly provide support and management, as well as guaranteeing back to the registered provider the rent for the properties. There are 2 schedules which set out the financial considerations. It's a good deal for the council and it significantly reduces reliance on expensive temporary accommodation that is not subsidy compliant. The recommendation set out in section 3, which sets out the approvals needed to allow Cornerstone Place to develop the scheme. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Hoy. I'd just like to ask for officers' advice. Given that the at-risk costs are dependent upon a planning permission, is there any difficulty for any members of the planning committee who are on cabinet?
Through you, Chairman. As with all schemes that involve FDC assets, any members of the planning committee do need to take that into consideration as to whether they can approach any application that comes with an open mind. So I think members need to consider, if they vote on this item, then they may need to withdraw from any planning application that comes forward to committee in future.
For which the alternative is they may declare now that they have an interest and don't play any part in this debate nor in the vote.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Members of the planning member of the planning committee.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yes, I won't take part in this as I am a member of the Planning Committee.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for that, Carol. Right, may I have a seconder, please? Councillor Count, thank you very much. Right, items now open for discussion or questions. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you again, Chairman. I just want to clarify, not because I don't know the answer, but because I know sometimes people can be mischievous when they hear a story like this. So I just want to clarify for whose use this would primarily be put to. I know that some people will suggest it's for something like asylum seekers, and I just want to clarify with Councillor Hoy the purpose that they will be used for.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. A very helpful clarification, I'm sure, will come from Councillor Hoy.
Yes, thank you. No, so it's for local housing needs. So currently, if you are a local person and you're made homeless, there are not many options available, one of them being a hotel, which obviously costs us quite a lot of money and isn't an ideal living situation. So it's to manage people from those situations. So no, it's not for asylum seekers.
Thank you, that's extremely helpful. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Right, as there aren't any further speakers, the recommendations are at page 124 of the agenda pack, and they ask Cabinet to delegate to the Section 151 and Monitoring Officer, in consultation with the portfolio holder for housing and the leader, to agree to enter into agreement with Cornerstone to develop the Grounds Avenue site, to provide 12 properties to support our housing duties, to agree to enter into a 125-year lease with a registered provider for the land, to agree to enter into a management lease with the registered provider to enable the council to control the nominations into and undertake the management and support responsibilities for the properties, and to agree to the at-risk costs of about £92,000, which are dependent upon a planning permission, securing a registered provider, and the relevant grant funding and private finance, all to be refunded at funds drawdown. All in favour, please show. Those against? And may it be recorded that Councillor French did not take part in the vote. That was agreed unanimously apart from Councillor French. Thank you. Right, the next item is agenda item 7, and that is the decision to enter into a contract through the Football Foundation's Play Zones framework to construct play zones at Barton Road and at Manor Field. And this is to be found on pages 175 to 182 of your agenda pack. And this asks Cabinet to consider supportive match funding for play zone projects in Whittlesea and in Wisbech. And I will take this on and propose this report. This item has come to us before in November, when we had a lengthy report explaining what the play zones were, what they offered, and advising us that 75% funding would be available from the Football Foundation. And this now is the motion to formally accept the funding from the Football Foundation, thereby meaning that we are committing to provide the match funding of just under £160,000. In total, it's just under £452,000, which will be coming from the grant provider, the Football Foundation. And that is, I'll give the exact figures, £451,660 out of the total amount of £607,534 total project cost for the two sites. And as I think we'll all remember, or those of us who are on Cabinet will remember, it really is a quite impressive proposal, which of course we hope, as will be mentioned in the recommendations, we hope will be expanded out to Wisbech Park and a location in March and or Chatteris as well in the future. But these are the first two sites which the Football Foundation has agreed meet the criteria that it wishes to apply. And I personally believe that whilst it's quite a lot of money for us to be authorising of just under £160,000, it's an offer too good to refuse. If you're getting 3/4 of the cost being paid by a third party, you have to have a pretty good reason to turn that down. So I'm happy to propose this, and I wonder if we may have a seconder. Councillor Seaton, thank you very much indeed. The item is now open for discussion. Councillor Miss Hoy first.
Thank you, Chair. So I really do not want to be difficult with this one, but I don't know how to approach it really, because I've got a couple of concerns with the Barton Road scheme. I'm not necessarily against it, but and the Wisbech Park. So I was told by the previous portfolio holder that the Wisbech Park scheme is not suitable, but that is completely contradictory to what the report says, because the report is quite clear that this scheme is viable there, and obviously what you said in your introduction concludes that as well. I think that's absolutely wonderful location, to be honest, given that it's in the centre of town, and we know a lot of people in the area don't have access to transport, and obviously in a lot of the deprived areas they do rely on walking. So I guess my concern on the Barton Road scheme is twofold. Firstly, that it is out of town, and I do worry about how people access it. And my second concern is I still have a few scars on my back from when they proposed the secondary school on Barton Road, which I still to this day think was the right location and should have proceeded. But the residents of that area were up in arms, and I'm not sure if we have to have a planning application for play zones, but I think that if we do, we could have problems in the planning process for the Barton Road scheme. Now, I don't want to make trouble, so if it's going to cause trouble, I'm happy just to leave the report as it is. But if we could think about which of the two Wisbech schemes to progress first, rather than necessarily naming which today, that would be maybe more practicable, because, you know, I might be wrong. We might not need permission. It might be that I've misunderstood and we don't need that, and it might be a simple installation at Barton Road. And if that's the case, then one of my concerns, I suppose, is gone. But I guess I have that small reservation with the Barton Road scheme, I suppose.
Thank you very much. The matter for consideration before us today is to consider the offer of financial support for these two specific schemes. And Councillor Miss Hoy, you're quite correct. Originally, 5 schemes were put forward to the Football Foundation, and they have decided that these two should be the first ones. That is not to say that the other 3 don't qualify. It's merely that in making their decision, these are the 2 they decided to put forward first. And they didn't give us the option to say, well, if we don't like site 1, maybe the money could go in site 2. I think it's a case of accepting this or not accepting it. And I'm sure that you would rather that we accepted the money for Wisbech rather than didn't. I do note that Barton Road is in Wisbech town itself, regardless of what some people may think in the locality. And at the end of the day, we are not the ones who made the choice about which sites to go with first. We will have a part of the proposal coming forward asking that Cabinet agree that we should support further bids to the Football Foundation for a play zone facility in Wisbech Park and a location in March or Chatteris. So we will be putting that forward when we get to the recommendation stage. Councillor, does this follow on, Councillor Tierney, from what Councillor Hoy said? I'll take you, Councillor Tierney, first.
Thank you. I did just want to say that I agree with what Councillor Hoy said. I don't have any problem with the Barton Road scheme. I'm not sure whether the residents will be as upset about this as they would have been about a full-scale school, but they were quite vociferous about it before. But I do think that the town park is a far better location, and I think that although we can't change it, they're making a big mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Councillor Mrs. French.
Thank you, Leader. Having listened to Councillor Hoy with regard to planning, I want to ask a question, but I'm not going to vote on this because the pump track in March did need planning permission, so I would surmise that it will do. My question is, I'm very disappointed that Estover was not chosen in the first place. We were told last week by the previous portfolio holder that it had actually been discounted totally. On the Monday last week, I received a very lengthy email from the Netball Association, which I have passed on to Councillor Count, because it just outlines what exactly the youth of March do. Plus the fact that March Town Council have agreed to give Estover £80,000 over the next £80,000 each year over the next 3 years. So that would be a contribution towards it.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. French. And I will reiterate that we will have a recommendation coming for us to vote upon about whether to support further bids to the Football Foundation, including for a location in March. And the most obvious location in March, of course, is Estover. But that will be a recommendation which comes forward for us to vote on. Are you saying, Councillor Mrs. French, that you would rather not vote on this in case there is any planning implication? If that could be recorded in the minutes that Councillor Mrs. French will not vote on this, that would be much appreciated. Right, Councillor Count.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, follow on from Councillor French's comments. Yes, I've received that email, and then I received a copy of the original from the lady yesterday, which I replied to today. Very much a holding response while I look into this matter further. So what concerned me was the fact that they put in an application for a play zone, and that has been turned down because it's 2 metres too big for a play zone to use as the netball facility. So this is why it's been turned down. But in the paperwork in front of us, what it says is that Estover is turned down because they're considering another facility. So was the paper written when the other facility was maybe we can do something with the netball courts instead? Is there something else being proposed for Estover, in which case, if we're unaware of this today, could we have an update to all the Cabinet members afterwards? Or if not, what does the paper actually mean by they are considering an alternative facility at Estover? Thank you, Chair.
To the best of my knowledge, and I will be given a kick by someone on either side of me if I get this wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, nothing has been ruled out for the future. We may need to amend slightly a proposal which may be made compared with what had been suggested previously, but all 5 sites were made available for the Football Foundation to consider, and it was for them to make their decisions about which ones they moved forwards. So far as I am aware, we will continue to put forward, subject to what is decided in the recommendations later on in this debate, we'll continue to put forward a location in March, and to the best of my knowledge, that will continue to be Estover. If it turns out that another one is appropriate, then of course we'll make sure that members in March are made aware of this, and it may be subject in fact, it will be the subject for Cabinet debate before anything is actually put forward. Councillor Mrs. French.
Thank you. I believe, Councillor Count, the other facility is a G3 pitch they're looking at.
Thank you very much indeed for your interjection. Right, any other comments or questions from anyone? Right, the recommendations are as follows, and they are to be found on page 124 of the agenda pack. No, I'll change that. I think these ones are on page 176 and 177, yeah. And they are, first of all, to note the benefits of play zones and the Council's financial position at recommendations 3.1 and 3.2. At 3.3, Cabinet is asked to consider providing the matched funding of £80,925 and 29 pence for the Manorfield facility, and the matched funding requirement of £74,988 and 99 pence for the Barton Road facility, and was to make the decision to support that necessary match funding for both of the facilities. That we're being asked also the Cabinet also to identify that this project is a capital project rather than a Fenland Inspire project, and it is a capital project, it's not part of Fenland Inspire. And that Cabinet, subject to the decision we make about accepting this funding, delegates authority to the Corporate Director in consultation with the portfolio holders for environment and leisure, and the Leader of the Council in his capacity as portfolio holder for finance, to develop the play zones as required through the Football Foundation Play Zones framework, and to award, mobilise and implement such a proposal with further authority to take all reasonable ancillary actions to ensure implementation. That we authorise the monitoring officer to execute and complete all requisite legal documentation in relation to the matters I've just discussed, and that we consider carefully, having considered carefully, we agree to support considering further bids to the Football Foundation for a play zone facility in Wisbech Park and a location in March or Chatteris, and instruct officers accordingly, noting that any successful funding for two facilities will also be likely to require much funding from the Council in the region of £80,000 per facility if other funders decline to support the projects, and that of course is going to be subject to any future Cabinet paper. I have those in favour, please show. Any against? That be recorded as a unanimous vote in favour, but Councillor French did not vote on this matter. Thank you. Right, we move on to agenda item 8, which is the Whittlesea Relief Road project, which is on pages 183 to 194 of your agenda pack. And it's for Cabinet to acknowledge the completed Whittlesea Relief Road strategic outline business case and its recommendations also, and to agree the next steps to source funding for the completion of further more detailed work. Councillor Seaton, would you please propose the report?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, as you said, this report relates to the Whittlesea Relief Road Strategic Outline Business Case, and members are requested to acknowledge the completed Whittlesea Relief SOC and its recommendations and agree steps to source the funding of further, more detailed work to continue the development of this project. The amount required is £220,000. The SOC has set out a strong case for studying ways to address the current transport problems of Whittlesea and develop 4 shortlisted options to address these. The recommended scheme from the 4 shortlisted is the delivery of a relief road to the south of Whittlesea, Eastry and Coates, with HGV rerouting and improvements to the active travel network within the town. The DFT value for money framework is not just about the benefit cost ratio, but the full range of impacts on a scheme can have. Despite this, for a scheme to be considered for funding by the DFT, a positive BCR must be achieved. And this is a business cost ratio rather than just an anagram. The current BCR for the Whittlesea Relief Road scheme is in its current form shows poor value for money, and this is due to the high cost to deliver this scale of intervention. The wide range of positive impacts the Whittlesea Relief Road scheme will have for Whittlesea has been set out in the SOC, and key to this is the creation of a sense of place and community, protecting the historic town and improving the health and well-being of its residents. To fully realise these in the benefit cost ratio and to strengthen the value for money, the scheme additional work is needed to quantify and monitorise these impacts. The SOC recommends that further work should be undertaken to examine the following. Assess whether the scale and scope of the scheme can be reduced to lower costs. Further appraise non-monetarised benefits to seek means to include these in the BCR assessment. Use the newly available traffic model to capture broader network benefits. Consider the scheme's role in support of a long-term strategic land use linked to the emerging local plan. And the work is expected to cost £220,000, which is currently unfunded and is not part of the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority medium-term financial plan. The recommendations are to note this recommendation, support in principle the proposal for further work to refine the scheme and assess further benefits, and ask officers to explore alternative potential approaches to source the £220,000 required to complete the work recommended in the Whittlesey Relief Road Strategic Outline Business Case. The recommendation 3, I have an amendment which I hope will...
Thank you, Councillor Seaton. On 3, I just want to get the agreement of the Cabinet that this may be brought as an amendment, which
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
sure.
they should do. And I will read out the wording, if you don't mind, and that is to bring to the attention of the planning team the wording of paragraph 2.2 of this agenda report and request that officers include this conclusion of the SOC and take it into account within the officer reports for any applications of 20 or more houses and of any significant commercial developments in Whittlesey, Eastleigh and Coates.
Thank you, Chairman.
Right, may I have the permission of the Cabinet that we do amend that recommendation? That's agreed unanimously, thank you. And I'm very grateful for the musical accompaniment to my words. Right, so thank you very much indeed for proposing that, Councillor Seaton. I'm very happy to second it. The item is now open for discussion. Would anyone care to make any comments? We'll start off with Councillor Mrs. Laws.
Thank you, Chair. Completely support the recommendations. I probably will be a little biased being Whittlesey councillor, but I think this is essential to move forward. Increase in traffic is happening daily, especially HGVs. And also, I think we need to recognise the fact if you want growth and economy to actually open up Fenland, you need to improve the road structure between the west to the east. But may I also add, a lot of work has gone into this. Completely applaud the consultants we had, but in particular, and I noticed the member of staff has just walked in, which surprised me. I'd like to thank Linda Pedler for all of the work, and it has been very detailed. She's to be applauded how she's kept all members of the group involved, completely up to date, and obviously for my colleagues on the group, the chairman in particular as well, it has been a really positive and worthwhile exercise, and everybody has bought into this process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chairman. It's normal, I think, for us to only speak about things that apply to our kind of area, but I just want to endorse everything that Councillor Laws just said, because we do have to support the whole of Fenland, and it's not competition, is it? Anything that benefits our neighbours benefits all of us. So I think this is a great start. Now, of course, it's only the start. There's a lot of work to be done, but you need the building blocks if you're going to get things done, and I think this is good news. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Count.
Yeah, just my contribution is new to the role of economic growth, responsibility for that. It's my humble opinion that the most you can do to achieve economic growth is strategic interventions. It's not grant funding, it's not skills, it's strategic interventions that means that people, goods, information can get around the district better. So I'm very much in support of this and look forward to this SOC being advanced and one day getting this built.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? In which case I'll make a few comments. The strategic outline business case did not show that at this time there was value for money in the proposal as it currently stands. However, there is the possibility that that number can change if the proposal is changed. And additionally, the cost-benefit ratio is no longer the be-all and end-all for a decision about whether something should or should not go ahead. So it has been an extremely valuable exercise, and I share Councillor Law's comments about thanking Belinda Pedler in particular for the amount of hard work which was put in over a long period of time on this. We're asking officers to explore alternative potential approaches to secure the £220,000 required. My suggestion to officers is the first person they speak to is the newly elected mayor of the combined authority. I'm sure there will be others who could be approached as well, but he is the most obvious first person to approach. And the slightly amended third recommendation, it is quite important that the conclusion that was reached concerning the increasing unviability and unsustainability of the traffic situation in the centre of Whittlesea, that this matter is brought before the planning committee whenever it's appropriate, so that it can be one of the considerations which is taken into account both by officers in making their recommendations and by members in making their decisions on future significant planning applications. Right, anyone else wish to say anything before? Oh, 1 second, please. Okay, so we move now to, oh, sorry, Councillor Mrs. French.
Thank you. I think with regard to the road, I think it's a county council planning application, not an FDC. If it is an FDC, I'll have to declare an interest. It's county.
That's a good question. I think it is, it would be FDC.
The building of any future roads.
Yes. I think we're a very long way away from that at this
Yes, I think
stage.
we are.
What we're talking about here. Yes.
I think that would sit at county council.
Okay, I'm being told that it may well sit at county, but having said that, we're a long way away from that stage here. What we're talking about is additional funding to expand the strategic outline business case, after which you've got to have an outline business case. Well, you've got a few stages to go through before you get to planning. And we would in any way be a statutory consultee in that event. Councillor Mrs. Laws.
With regard to Councillor French, and yes, I agree, county council, I don't think it's any harm in actually engaging with county council to inform them where we are with the Southern Relief Road, and also to put this advisory note in.
Thank you very much indeed. With your agreement, Councillor Laws, I was planning to do that on a personal basis as the local county councillor for the area in a very public way indeed.
Thank you, Chair.
Right, we can now move to the vote. Those in favour of I'll go through the recommendations again. To support in principle the proposal for further work to refine the scheme and to assess further benefits. To ask officers to explore alternative potential approaches to source the £220,000 required to complete the work recommended in the Whittlesea Relief Road Strategic Outline business case, and to bring to the attention of the planning team the wording of paragraph 2.2 of this agenda report and request that officers include this conclusion of the SOC and take this into account within officer reports for any applications of 20 or more houses and any significant commercial developments in Whittlesea, Eastry and Coates. Those in favour, please show. And that's agreed unanimously. Thank you very much indeed, members. And I'll just pass this over so that the exact wording of the third bullet point can be properly recorded. Right, we can now move on to agenda item 9, which is the appointment of a director of Fenland Future Limited. Agenda item 9 can be found on pages 195 to 198 of the agenda pack, and it's for Cabinet to approve the appointment of a new director to fill a vacancy on the board of Fenland Future Limited. I shall propose that, but may I have a seconder? Councillor Mrs. Laws, 1 second, please. Sure. May I just ask Sian if she'd be kind enough just to leave the room for a few moments. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Executive. Right, with the very sad departure of Mark Saunders, we are, because we would have loved him to have stayed for as long as he wished. Well, he has stayed for as long as he wished, and probably longer. But given that he's made, given that he's made the choice to leave us, we now need to appoint a new director to Fenland Future Limited. And Sian Warren is by far and away the most obvious individual to fulfil that function, and I'm more than happy to propose her. May I have a seconder? Oh, Councillor Mrs. Laws. Any comments, questions from anyone? Those in favour, please show. Good, that's agreed unanimously. Would you be kind enough for Chief Executive to ask Sian to come back? Councillor Mrs Laws?
It was just to say, it's very sad to see you go, and I fully appreciate the years that you've been here. And eventually they've unlocked your office to let you out. Thank you, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, Councillor Laws, and I can inform Sean Warren that the Cabinet have agreed to approve the appointment. So thank you very much. Right, moving on to agenda item 10. Ladies and gentlemen, attention please. Wisbech High Street update. The report is to be found on pages 199 to 204 of your agenda pack. Councillor Seaton.
Thank you, Chairman. 24 High Street construction is to be completed on the 21st of May. And I did report recently that a water sewage connection is outstanding and will necessitate closure of the High Street and may take until the 21st of June to complete. Now, we have been in touch with both ETEC and County Council Highways to make them aware of the Rose Fair, which is on the 28th of June. Highways are obviously aware of this because they have to have road closure for the Rose Fair anyway, so there's no way there's going to be a clash there. ETEC think that they can do it by the 21st of June, but I am informed that Highways may not grant that closure straight after the 21st of May to make sure that there is no run over into the Rose Fair timing. Now that's not been confirmed to me because I'm still waiting for that confirmation, but that's what I'm told they are minded to do. But I will chase that and make sure, but rest assured that there will be no complications regarding the Rose Fair. You'll see on the report photographs of the new building, and as my Wisbech colleagues know, the Gap, as it was formerly known, has been there for about 45 years. So it's taken a bit more than the gestation period of an elephant to get this done, but we are there, and as I say, we hope to take control of the building as soon as we can, depending on what happens with the sewerage and the water outstanding problems. There will be an official opening at some time in the period, and I know that we have already been in touch with the lottery funding to ask one of their representatives to be there, and obviously our Wisbech colleagues as well. So this is for note, Chairman, and that is the report so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Seaton. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Tierney, thank you very much. Right, are there any questions or items open for discussion? Councillor Tierney.
Yeah, this feels like a fair portion of my life has been taken up watching this develop, and I can't wait for it to be over. You could write a book about what's gone on with this. No one will buy it because it'd be so boring, but you could write a book about it, I'm sure, and maybe someday somebody will who's a very talented writer. But it's such good news to see it finally coming to a close, and I just hope that members of the public who have waited for a long time and said, why is this not being done, recognise it has finally been achieved. And although it has taken a long time, there have been very good reasons why it's taken a long time. It's not been, nobody's been lazy, it's just been very tricky. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney, very true. Councillor Miss Hoy.
Yeah, I think you're going to find that they are going to say that, because we had the Safety Advisory Group for Rose Fair this morning, and Martin Elwood from County was on the call, and he said that they did have some reservations regarding that closure, so they won't let both road spaces be booked. So, you know, unfortunately, it might have to wait.
Thank you for that, Councillor Miss Hoy. Councillor Seaton, do you want to respond to that?
Well, it'll only be a very short wait after the amount of years it's taken to get that building, so I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem, Councillor.
Thank you. Any other councillors, members of Cabinet wish to speak? Nope, then the recommendation is on page 203 of the agenda pack, and asks Cabinet to note the report, recognising that progress on the build continues with completion of construction works due imminently. Those in favour, please show. That's agreed unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Right. Move on to agenda item 11, the draft 6-month Cabinet Forward Plan on pages 205 to 206. Any questions or comments on that? Nope, then the plan is noted for information. There are no items under agenda item 12 which have been deemed urgent. Agenda item 13, port fees and charges. This has, in the last 4 pages of the agenda pack, of the private agenda pack, this contains 2 appendices which have confidential information, exempt information. And it is proposed that appendices 2 and 3 are exempt from publication in accordance with paragraphs 3 and 5 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, and that's because they contain commercially sensitive financial information of a third party, and they also contain legal advice which is subject to legal professional privilege. For this reason, it's considered that in the public interest that the information is maintained as exempt at this time. Is that agreed by all members of Cabinet? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. As a result, as is customary, we'll remain in public session for as much of this debate as possible. However, if any member wishes to discuss the content of Appendix 2 or Appendix 3, then following presentation of this report, please confirm your intention and we'll enter exempt session. So I'll present this report, which is the standard report which is produced on an annual basis to determine what the port fees and charges should be. However, it's not quite in the standard form because we have some options made available to us within the report. As you will see in the report, when we look at the charges for harbour and light dues, for conservancy dues, and for pilotage and boarding and landing dues, we've been given 2 different reports, 2 different schedules, one of which suggests that there should be no increase at all, and another suggesting that there should be a 10% increase. Now, the recommendation I will be making to you is that we go with neither of those 2 options, but instead, given that there are significantly extra higher overall costs which we have so far as the operations of the Port of Wisbech is concerned, that in order to try and have some greater attempt to recover our costs, that the increases for the Port of Wisbech be set at 10%, but that the increases at the Port of Sutton Bridge be set at 0%. So that will be the recommendation that I will bring before you. And as is the case, is usually the case, most of these increases are set at 10%. 1 or 2, such as the detention, is lower than that. The Wisbech Yacht Harbour figures are lower than that as well. And there's a long list of different percentage increases for different services which are provided, all of which are in the papers in front of you. And I'm more than happy to propose that with the understanding that that for those harbour and light dues, conservancy dues, and pilotage and boarding and landing dues, there will be a 0% increase proposed for the Port of Sutton Bridge and a 10% increase proposed for the Port of Wisbech for the reasons I gave before. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Mrs. French, thank you. Any comments, questions from anyone, please? None. I can therefore move straight to the vote. Those in favour, please show. That's agreed unanimously. Thank you all very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Right, agenda item 14 is a confidential paper, and it's proposed that this whole report is exempt from publication in accordance with paragraphs 3 and 5 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 because it contains commercially sensitive information relating to FDC and third parties. The report also contains legal advice which is subject to legal professional privilege. For this reason, it's considered in the public interest that the information is maintained as exempt at this time. Is this agreed? Those in favour, please show. And that's agreed by Cabinet unanimously. Well, thank you very much indeed. As the whole report is exempt, member services, would you please end the link to YouTube?